Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition, and I'm going to talk about a PSA for all Dungeon Masters and Dungeon players about using humor in Dungeons & Dragons. So I think just based on where we've landed in our modern society, we need to be incredibly careful about using humor in our Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition games today. So we're talking 2021 time space, and we've just really landed in a place that I don't think people really understand how dangerous humor is. Right? This is very clear to me that a lot of content creators and dungeon masters and dungeon players are absolutely 100% content creators. The only question is the size of the audience. And here's the kicker: the size of your audience, you don't know and you don't decide. Right? You think it's just your table, you're wrong. Right? Anything that happens at your table can show up on the internet. Right? So if there's any kind of fallout between a dungeon master and a dungeon player, or between a dungeon player and another dungeon player, that can blow up quick. It really can blow up very, very fast, right? And one dungeon player can call out another dungeon player. A dungeon player can call out a dungeon master. A dungeon master can call out a dungeon player, and put their, what they said and what they did on blast on the internet. It takes about 30 seconds, right? And it can be devastating, right? Like James Gunn, he has the Suicide Squad movie out. This guy was a professional, right? And he lost a gig with Disney because he was shocked that that tweets he had done 10 years ago, were archived, were excavated out and used to get him fired, like super quick, right? And the reality is our D&D games have exactly the same danger now, right? And one of the things that's incredibly clear to me is that content creators don't understand how quickly things that happen at their table, and I'm saying, when I say content creator, I mean a dungeon player and a dungeon master. One dungeon master, 4 dungeon players. You think that's just your table? It's not, right? Go on YouTube, go on Twitter, and it'll take you about 5 seconds to find, a kitchen table game that is now, put on blast on YouTube and on Twitter. So what happens at your table doesn't stay at your table, and don't think it does. All right, so the reason we're talking today is I have been watching a show called HBO Max, The Prince, right? And I actually, you guys know me. I'm very interested in the British royals. And the reason why I'm interested in there's 2 reasons I'm interested in the British royals. First of all, Princess Diana. I think she was if anybody's a true, an IRL queen, Princess Diana was an IRL queen, right? She was just an amazing human being, and I really liked her. And I like the British royals by extension, that they were ever connected to Princess Diana, right? She classed up the joint, in my opinion. And she has 2 sons who, Prince George and Prince Harry. And I'm very interested in who they're married to and who their kids are, because it's American now, right? Prince Archie, in my opinion, is an American prince. He's the first American prince. So the British royals have brought royalty to America, and I'm incredibly interested in that, right? And I'm a super fan of Princess Diana. I really like her. Well, The Prince is a comedy show, and in the beginning of it, it says, "Everybody relax. This is a comedy show," but it's not about the real British royal family. It's, just relax. It's not them, right? But then you start watching the show, and you're like, wait, every major person in the British royal family is here. Maybe a few minor players are missing, but all the major players are here, right? Prince George, Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, the Queen's consort. They're all there, right? And they're not drawn in a stylized way. They look exactly like they do in real life, right? So, and then their names are the same. They're I put on subtitles. They're literally spelled the same, right? So you're like, oh, how dare you think this is about the actual British royal family? We just drew them to be exactly like the British royal family, put in every major player from the British royal family, and made them look exactly like the British royal family, and made their names exactly the same as the British royal family, right? But when I watch this show, because, I think if this had been about American politicians, I would have been more like, oh, whatever, it's not a big deal, right? I get it, you're making fun of America. But I have a lot of goodwill for Princess Diana and for her sons and her grandsons, and her grandson, who was literally an American prince. Prince. His name is Archie, for goodness sakes, right? And he's called Archie in the show, right? And jokes are made about him, and jokes are made about Prince. I think it's Prince George and Prince Harry. Harry's brother, Prince William. I'm sorry. I think it's, oh boy, I get them mixed up sometimes. I think it's Prince, but Princess Diana's older son's grandson is in this thing, and they just make him out to be a vicious, cruel, outrageous monster of a human being. And this is a child, right? I'm like, so when I look at HBO Max's The Prince, all I see is a deck of cards, and each card is a microaggression or a macroaggression. It is outrageously insulting, disrespectful, hurtful, cruel, and mean, right? And I know the people who made it didn't think it was gonna, either don't care or don't think it is, but it is. It's just a pile of microaggressions and macroaggressions, frankly. So the reality is, now that we're counting microaggressions, you might think, your joke is a little slight, but if it is not, 100%, very carefully crafted to make sure it is not insulting a gender, an identity, a person, a type of people, a race, a heritage, an ancestry, you could find yourself in real trouble later, right? Or even in minor trouble that you don't want, right? And so I think, the reality is, be very, very, very careful of the jokes that you tell in your Dungeons & Dragons game. And the reason why is, I will tell you right, they need to be respectful and they need to be kind. And frankly, respectful and kind comedy is rarely funny. So you really want to you may want to start skipping humor in your games, because it is incredibly dangerous, right? And I think there was an idea when we went into woke culture that comedy would survive. I can tell you right now, comedy is a casualty. And if you just open your eyes, you will see that there are comedians dropping left and right, right? And it has become an incredibly hazardous career, right? So, and the reality is, because of the structure of our modern society, because of social media, and because now we count microaggressions as no small thing, right? And people have incredibly thin skins, and we now find offense in a huge number of things that before we didn't. And I think a lot of that is good. You need to be incredibly careful about using humor in your Dungeons & Dragons game. And frankly, in my opinion, I would skip it, because the risk is so high, it is not worth it, right? And so just be aware. The world truly has changed. We're not living in the same times, right? And so don't be stunned the way James Gunn, who definitely should have understood that the reckoning was coming. Just be very careful about how you proceed with using humor in your Dungeons & Dragons game. All that is my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.